I'm 16, eating a bowl of Kix, and I turn to my mom and ask, "Do you ever feel like you're just accelerating towards death?" This question is not out of character for 16-year-old me. I had a very Midwestern, turn-of-the-millennium beat poet aesthetic going on. I'd been wearing a beret since the 8th grade. I had a lot of black turtlenecks. I was also writing editorials for my school newspaper, so I was always trying out two-word combinations or questions as strong openings in casual conversation. Things like, do standardized tests lead to bulimic learning? Or, is the cross-country team a cult? But I was also genuinely concerned about both acceleration and death. Acceleration came up a lot in my math and science classes, and the insistence of the integral, the per second of gravity, was very agitating to me, the way that thinking about outer space for more than 15 seconds is upsetting. Similarly, I was worried about death, broadly as a theme in my poetry journal. So my mom trained as a psychologist, so she was prepared for this kind of thing, and she just engaged in a little active listening, narrowed the issue, and she said, "So it sounds like you've noticed that as you get older, time seems to go a lot more quickly, and something like half an hour, which was forever when you were a little kid, is over very fast." And I say, "Sort of." And she says, "Well then yeah, sometimes I do feel that way. But what you haven't accounted for is the density of experience." I'm like, I'll bite. I love a good two-word phrase, I say well, what does that mean? And she says, well, people say experience gets richer as you get older, but what they don't say is it gets more layered. So when your grandma's talking to you, she can remember what it's like to be your age, maybe going through what you're going through. She can remember what it's like to be the mother of a person your age, and she gets to enjoy the experience in the present moment of being a grandmother, talking to her granddaughter, and maybe not needing to directly address the underlying issue. And I say, density of experience. And I picture sort of the slow spiral of a snail's shell, and I am mollified, at least in the abstract sense, for a few weeks. But then I start to think about it more, and I'm not so much worried about the acceleration or the death as I am this feeling that nothing is ever going to happen in my life. So rather than the slow spiral of a snail's shell, it's more the Ouroboros, the snake swallowing its own tail, or just a constant circle where I'll never achieve escape velocity. And I tried to explain this to my mom over sleepy time tea one evening. I say, "Mom, I just feel like every day I wake up in the same bed, go to the same classes, with the same people at the same school, come home, eat dinner, do my homework, go to orchestra, and then begin the doomed cycle anew." And Mom says, "Why don't you sleep on the couch?" And I don't think she understands the gravity of my situation. So I just repeat, "Sleep on the couch?" And she says, "Sure, it's one thing you can change tonight." And so I give it a go. And, she's right. It's darker down there. I'm facing the backyard instead of the front yard. It smells different. I've given myself a sleeping bag to really get the full effect, and there's sort of a residual campfire scent. And it sounds different. There's a vent going up to my parents' room from the family room where I'm sleeping, and I can hear sort of their low voices, and I realize that they're in a room talking where I'm not, and they're probably not even talking about me. And this minimal level of agency really works for me, and the next couple weeks when my friends at school ask what's new, instead of nothing ever, I come up with something. I say, "I'm not wearing a bra today." So present day, I'm the mother of a 3-year-old, a very moody creature, and a few months ago, he walked up to me crying because it was daytime, and he wanted it to be nighttime. And 70% of me is buck up, buttercup, wait 4 hours. But then I remember how long 4 hours is when you're 3 years old, and I remember what it feels like to believe you're totally constrained by your circumstances. So I channel my mom, and I say, "Well, I can't make it be night, but if you want, we could build a blanket fort." and it'll be dark there like nighttime. And we could read books there like nighttime and use flashlights. And he's not just mollified by this, he's genuinely delighted. And that evening, when I talk to my mom on the phone, I am sure to tell her about it to add another layer of density to the experience. Thank you.